Hey everyone, me Kevin here. This video is a quick response to my podcast on valuetainment, which I have some explaining to do for. I flew to Florida on Thursday, and there were some things that I did not respond to as clearly as I should have, and I'm going to make my positions extremely clear starting right now. Number one, folks are wondering, what is my stance on censorship, especially since I'm a YouTuber and therefore somehow I must be beholden to big tech. Wrong. Let's make this very clear. Political or opinion-based censorship has no place in a democracy. No place at all. No censorship. But let's also make this clear. There is a level of nuance in every question that we have in politics. Identity politics are deadly. They lead to a lack of nuance, and guess what happens then? Problems don't get solved. I understand censorship. I was censored by Instagram. When I announced my candidacy, my announcement post was deleted for harassment because I suggested that the existing governor is a weenie baby. After Fox News connected the dots and exposed that Gavin Newsom got almost $30 million in campaign donations, and maybe there's some bad optics to getting censored, my post came back. So I have firsthand experienced political censorship. There is zero tolerance for that in our society, or there should be zero tolerance to that from our government. It's unacceptable. Now, this is where nuance comes in. We have to understand that a lot of moderating today is done by algorithms. And algorithms have been studied by big institutions in our country, big schools, Harvard, companies, you name it, have been studied to show bias. And this is why there is a level of investigating that needs to be done to find out, are algorithms censoring? Are these people manually going out of their way to censor folks? Because here's the thing. When we have the answers, we can start solving those specific solutions. Because guess what happens when people go out of their way to censor Americans and their political opinions, like my Instagram post? They need to be fired. Not tomorrow, not after HR reviews them, now. It's the same thing with bad cops, bad apples, bad cops that bring down the reputation of the good, hard-working police that we have in our country. There's a bad apple. They got to go tomorrow. No 3 strikes. They're gone tomorrow. And this is why my platform includes fully funding the police, because we need better support, training, and safety in our country. There are laws for a reason. So we need to understand that censoring political opinion, absolutely unacceptable. You can't also say no censorship because then you ignore nuance. How? Ask yourself this. Should a rape be live streamed? Should a mass shooting be live streamed? Should someone's personal information that's getting doxed on the internet be allowed? There are circumstances where it makes sense. But folks, nuance matters. Political opinion and free speech should never be infringed. Now, there were also questions about my beliefs on homelessness. Some folks tried characterizing my belief that homeless should not be living on our streets and dying on our streets within 60 days in California of me becoming governor. Folks tried to characterize this as maybe too harsh, too dictatorial, too overbearing. Oh, you're going to waste money. Are you kidding me? More people, we have a gun violence epidemic in California, and guess what? More people die on our streets to homelessness than die on our streets to gun violence. This is a state of emergency. On day one, I don't care what anybody believes. Make this clear. The National Guard gets deployed everywhere we have homeless to provide for our homeless. Safety, security, 3 meals a day, hygiene. So the ones who can reintegrate can reintegrate. Then we're going to build 80 emergency facilities through this state. Those are going to house 2,000 individuals, and they can come and go as they please. They don't have to stay there. But I'll tell you one thing, they will not live on our streets. No one is allowed to live on our streets in California. That ends on day 60 with me, because on day 1, we deploy the National Guard. Now, some folks say, oh, but Kevin, that's going to use some FEMA funds, and that's going to use some federal funds. Why should the federal government even have to partake in dealing with mismanaged California policy? Don't get me wrong. The federal government shouldn't. They shouldn't. Guess what the federal government just did? They gave California $4.8 billion for rent relief. $4.8 billion. Donald Trump gave 2.6. Biden gave 2.2. Gavin Newsom's been sitting on that money, sitting on it since December. 2.3% of it has gone out to Americans in California for rent relief. In a state of emergency, that's how quickly you get money out of the door? Folks, this government squanders more money than it handles correctly. And so I want to make it crystal clear. When we have our emergency facilities and we provide mental health support, rehabilitation support, support for substance abuse, we have centralized caseworkers, and we integrate our homeless population back into our future schools because we're going to solve schooling. We're going to end the causes of homelessness by giving people dignity and the opportunity to get a career. Now, does that mean everyone is going to recover from homelessness? Of course not. There should be a social safety net. That social safety net should be 5, maybe 10% of the population should be in a social safety net where if they have to check into the emergency facility and have housing and 3 meals a day and showers, that is an option for them. If they want to walk out and leave, if they're capable of leaving, then go. But you will not live on our streets. Instead, we are going to have future schools in our state. Future schools that offer $2,000 a month for everyone over the age of 18. Because guess what's broken in our country? If you're 25, 35, 45, 55, 65 right now, and you don't have money, and you don't have a career, and you're a single mother with 2 or 3 children, and you can't get ahead because you can't afford to go to a coding boot camp, you can't afford to re-educate yourself, how about this? Rather than you having to flip burgers while trying to take care of your family as a single mother, we give you the opportunity to make sure that you can actually get dignity again by building and learning a new career, by going to our future schools. And we pay you for 2 years to make that happen. It's not universal basic income. It's income if you go to a school and get career educated, financially educated. In 2 years, you walk out the door able to be a nurse, to code, to be a paramedic, to serve our country. And guess what people have in common who graduate with skills like coding and nursing? Guess what they all have in common? They're not on Medi-Cal. They're not on welfare. They're not on entitlement programs because entitlement programs are a result of the failure of California to educate its populace. That's why California has become known as a welfare state. Folks, 33% of Californians are on Medi-Cal. Let's be clear. I don't want to end on this. I want to be extremely clear, and I wish I was more clear on the Valuetainment podcast. It's my fault. I wasn't as clear as I needed to be, so I'm being clear now. This is a one-take video. I don't even have any notes. It's what I believe. I wish I properly conveyed that at the podcast, and I didn't. So I'm going to make this clear. No censorship. Zero political or opinion censorship. I've been a victim myself. It's unacceptable. Number 2. No one lives on our street homeless and dies on our streets in California after 60 days. And number 3, we're going to have future schools to reintegrate folks to society with dignity so we can reduce costs of entitlement programs. The money we save will end up meaning we can invest into fixing the bad traffic that we have, into lowering the taxes that we have, and fixing the mismanaged policies of California trying to integrate itself into everyone's life. We're going to legalize gambling. Why? Because California shouldn't tell you gambling is illegal. If you want to gamble, you should have the right to gamble. And then people say, but Kevin, that causes gambling addictions. Well, guess what? Solve the gambling addictions, but don't tell people what not to do.